Are you a military service member or veteran struggling with insomnia? A new study is investigating a non-drug therapy program that you can receive from your computer or a smartphone. If you find it difficult to fall or stay asleep or feel tired throughout the day, internet-guided cognitive behavior therapy for insomnia may be a treatment worth exploring. If you or a loved one is a current or former military service member, has had a head injury, and are between the ages of 18 and 64, you might qualify for this study. Call or text 301-456-5474 or head on over to militaryveterandad.com/sleep.
Dory 1, this is Fire Team Delta. Dad's coming home.
Welcome to the Military Veteran Dad Podcast, where it is our mission to bring every dad home. I am your host, Ben Cloy. I'm a United States Marine veteran, husband, and a father. We will bring authentic conversations to inspire action in your life so we can close the gap between the dad you are today and the dad you want to be tomorrow. This is the Military Veteran Dad Podcast.
Hey guys, welcome back to episode 153. I'm your official corny dad joke aficionado, although no corny dad jokes for you today. But today I've got episode 153 locked, ready, and loaded. I'm talking to Ryan Lonergan. Ryan is a good friend of mine. I've been on his podcast, the Frag Out podcast, and he's got an amazing story of coming through massive piles of shit in his life, not having a dad, joining the military as he shares in this, in a reason to find his dad, and just an amazing story of going through war, going through his mind, finding his path as a dad, finding his path in life, finding acceptance for himself. Just an amazing man all around. And what this man does for veterans up in northern Wisconsin is nothing short of amazing. And every time I see his stuff on social media, he's always inspiring me to do more. And I know this episode will inspire you to do more. His story of legacy, his story of triumph, and walking through, like I said, those piles of shit that he's gone through in his life. They are nothing short of amazing, inspiring, and hopeful that I know if he can do it, you can do it as well. So let's not delay it any further. If you want to hear my big takeaway this episode, as always, hang on to the other side. But here we go with my first in-person interview with Ryan Lonergan. I am on location today in Appleton, Wisconsin, talking to Ryan Lonergan. Now, this is the first in-person podcast recording for Military Veteran Dad, and I was recently, about a year ago, on Ryan's podcast, Frag Out, as well, and I recently also had this idea. I was like, you know what, I've never had Ryan on there, so we decided to go bigger, and I drove up here to Appleton for doing this interview today. So, Ryan, I really appreciate you opening your studio at the Frag Out podcast to also record this for Military Veteran Dad.
Yeah, absolutely. This is different, being a guest in my own studio. So that's cool, man. Welcome here.
We're both in growing modes here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I feel like it was easier when I was on your podcast just because you just have to show up and talk. And being a guest is almost always easier. So if anything, you should feel more comfortable because you just have to ramble. And there's less worry about like making sure it goes in a certain direction. You just have to answer whatever you're asked about.
Yeah. Well, I told you before we started is that I have to remember that I'm the guest and I'm not the host. So I don't want to hijack your show. So
well, there's a good 2 feet between us. So there's not like we can't physically touch each other, like get upset, like stop trying to take back the show.
Do you want me to touch you?
No, it's okay.
Okay. All right. We don't
need to make it weird.
We can hold hands because we're in person.
Yeah. It's a whole, like, until you've done it, you don't know.
Right. But in person's different. You know, it's very different, and it challenges you as an interviewer because you're in front of somebody. It's a subject. You know, I'm not a screen. You know what I mean, or a phone call. So I'm happy to have you here, man. I'm excited to dive into your brand and your style of podcasting. So it's awesome.
So one question and this will be something I struggle with. I'll have to keep in a flow because normally I'm in my zone of my house, and then my questions just naturally come to me. So I already feel that kind of fading away. So we're gonna go right into one of my opening favorite questions. When you went into the Army National Guard, correct?
Yeah.
What were you looking for? That was a long, long time ago, but most people join with like a feeling that they're missing something and that this can come from what I'm about ready to join.
I had this unrealistic plan that I was going to use the military to find my dad because I've never met my father. And I thought the military would actually help me and I would have the money and the resources, and nope. But also I joined because I wanted to go to college. And I was poor. I was just poor. And that's pretty much the motivation. It's pretty selfish, I know, but I love my country. I love everything about it. And I was just started 8th grade when 9/11 happened. So there was a lot of facets to me joining the mill, but a lot of it had to do with just personal selfish issues, like want to find my dad, want to go to college, want to, serve my country. And, and I look back at it and it's just crazy how hard it is to get into the military in general. Like physically, you have to be physically correct for the government. You can't have any issues or anything like that. You can't have any surgeries. You can't have any mental issues. And it's just, I look back at it, it's crazy, but that's kind of and I wanted to challenge too. I think everybody says they want a challenge. And, I was just kind of ready for it. I was a sponge, man. Like I absorbed everything they threw at me, everything. And you asked me about it, I'll tell you. So yeah.
Well, let's dive a little bit deeper. I'm going to ask you, what was something maybe that you were running from joining the military? Because it sounds like you were also looking for a feeling like your dad. You were looking for these things that seemed intangible. Was there anything that you were running from that, like, I just want to leave this fucking thing behind?
Yeah. Running from. I don't know if I was running from something. I think I was more just kind of looking for an outlet. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I was bullied pretty good growing up. So I wanted to find a way to, a way to not be bullied anymore. And maybe I was running from the bullies. Maybe I don't know. I don't think I was running from anything. I was definitely running to be healthier. Like, cause there was a lot of running in the military. I don't know if people know that or not. Man, running. I think I was running from my previous self. I think I was trying to leave who I was behind and try to start a new chapter. Because I feel like if you high school, you leave high school, you start a new chapter after post high school, and then you graduate college or whatever like that. I think every time you leave something important, it's a new chapter. So you leave a job, new chapter. You know what I mean? So I think that's what it was. That's a good question, man. I'm giving you a really shitty answer. I don't know, man.
No, you're setting it up. I got so many more questions I want to dive into. So I would say part of knowing you for the last year and seeing you grow as a person, you've become very acceptant of who you are today. And you're very much like, this is who I am, very unapologetic to who you are. And you show up and you provide value and you deeply give a shit. So I'm wondering, between the man that you joined the military with and this man that you are today, was a lot of the military process like just carving out that person, or did it reveal it, or what were some of those things that the military helped you do to step into this identity that you are now?
Well, I was scared shitless on my first day at infantry school, and believe it or not, like being a talker, like I've always been a talker. I think that kind of just set the tone, and then having really good.
Did that get you in trouble a lot? I can imagine maybe.
No, actually, it really didn't. I really just kind of buckled down, and they didn't know my name the first day, so that's good. But I just had really good leaders and mentors, that were really, really serious about the dichotomy of the military. It wasn't just like, I'm going to train you so you can be a soldier. Like, I'm going to train you to mentor you because we actually love you. It was really weird. I really lucked out with the people that I had when I went to infantry school, and then also just after that, the leaders I had in the military, being in a RISTA unit, a Reconnaissance Surveillance Target Acquisition unit in the National Guard. What the fuck? Like those don't really exist. Sorry, can I swear on your podcast?
Yes.
Oh, I forgot this is yours. I totally forgot this is your show.
As long as you make sure that the swearing has a point.
Okay.
No commas and no periods for swearing.
Okay, sorry, man. I totally see that's me hijacking again. But leadership. I think it was leadership. And carving out who I am now. I think a lot of that, happened in Iraq a little bit, with the mission that I had and the people the evil that I encountered 7,000 times over, if not more. That kind of changed because when I graduated infantry school and I was a young infantry guy, a boot. Everyone's gonna call me a boot, and that's fine. I don't fucking care. I thought I was a badass. I thought I was invincible. I thought I could do anything I wanted. I thought I was stronger, faster, better than everybody. And that was that alpha mentality. And after a while, that alpha mentality just kind of wore me out, because you have to sustain that, right? And I was like, yeah, this is...
And it's a persona.
And it's not attractive. It's really not. I don't care who you are. Being an alpha is not attractive. I'm sorry. Like, I'm so immune to that bullshit. I just walk away from you. Like, okay, you think you're better than everybody? I'm going to go this way. Have a good day. And I'll just turn my back on people. I really just don't care. There's no value for me for it anymore. So I learned that real quick. I learned that in Iraq. And then I came home and went through a horrible transition coming back from Iraq, the first suicide attempt, and then, getting out of the military in 2012, and then proverbially 10 years of just learning who I am. And then just carving out the things I didn't like about me, finding things to make me better, like professional development, whatever it is, college, and then becoming a dad. I think that's the biggest thing that kind of carved some things out and brought some things forward that I needed to work on. So I don't know, I'm giving you a lot of other questions here.
You are giving me a lot of questions, and I don't want to glaze over some of the obvious ones that you just laid out there, but there's one that I want to dive into that I just opened up on an interview that I was interviewing another dad on, and we were talking about his military service. He was an Army helicopter pilot.
Okay.
He had a pretty poor upbringing. He didn't have a lot. Both parents worked. He was always the babysitter, and he didn't have like a lot of life experience to say like I could do anything type mindset. And he described his Army service as like one of the basic things it taught him as he could do and be anything. And it made me question that, because he was questioning me in my podcast, so it was kind of that reverse role mode. And he was talking about, or I was talking about, that I got a chance to do the things that Marines do, but I still didn't believe that I could do them. Coming from like this identity in high school that always bullied as well, not being able to stand up for myself. And I recently dove into a story when in sixth grade, standing outside a history class, waiting for it to start, I got punched in the gut by two bullies. And I realized as I was dissecting that for a podcast episode, that episode kind of took my voice away. That it took my ability that I could protect myself for a long time, probably even up to the couple months ago when I recorded it. So I'm interested in your story. Did you feel like the Army gave you a lot of tools, but maybe you were missing that belief like me?
As far as being able to defend myself?
Not defend yourself, but that you could believe that you could be anything.
I think it was just the exposure to being a part of something so much bigger than yourself, and just the importance of what you were learning, right? Like I've always been an outdoors kid, but then going to the military and then learning these things, I was like, okay, I know how to put a tourniquet on. I know how to enter this room tactically. It's just, and that just kind of, I don't know, it just changed my brain. And then I go into any situation and I feel like thinking on your feet, I think that's what it is being able to think on your feet and thinking outside the box. I think that's what kind of perpetuated me to think that in that direction. You see what I'm trying to say? And I still think that way. I still love being able to think on my feet and thinking outside the box, but I don't look at things or people or situations that I'm better than people anymore. And that was a serious thing. That was a really bad personality trait that I had to knock off my shoulder real quick, because it just wasn't healthy, and I wasn't happy. So
let's go to that
does that
moment.
Answer your question?
It does.
Okay.
Let's go to a moment you talked about and your transition out after that first suicide attempt. And I often talk to a lot of dads at different modes. I've talked to dads that have taken their own life. I've talked to dads who've thought about it but never maybe tried. And oftentimes the one thing that they kind of always describe it is there's these thoughts that don't get canceled out, and they just get louder and louder, and like an echo chamber inside our head. And the echo becomes the only voice we can hear. So I'm curious, in your story, what was that voice that you heard, and what was it trying to tell you that this was the solution to solve?
Yeah. So it was like, it was like spring of 2010. Just like I got home in January of 10 from Iraq, and I think it was like April, May, June timeframe right there. And I wasn't really happy. I was married at the time. The wife, the ex-wife, she wanted all these things that I just wasn't ready for, like a baby and a house and all this other nonsense. And I wasn't happy with my body, myself. And so I tried holding my breath under a pillow because I thought that was the cleanest thing in the world. I didn't have any firearms. I didn't have any ammo for the guns. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to hold my breath, and got pretty close, got pretty dizzy. And then she came in there and she hit me pretty good. So that kind of knocked me out of it.
Forced you to take a breath.
Yeah, forced me to take a breath. She bit me, actually. Such a long time ago. It was 12 years ago. Almost, to the day, pretty much. Or not almost to the day. So that's what the voices were just saying, you're a giant piece of shit, you're fat ass kind of thing. And I mean, I lost 85 pounds in Iraq. I lost the most weight in my battalion, and I still felt like a fat ass. And I was still I was crushing my runs. I was in a different spot physically, but I still didn't think I was good enough. So I was like, all right, I'm done. I tried it. Didn't work out, which is a good thing, so those are the voices.
And you had a daughter at the time or not yet?
No way. Nope. This was 6 years. No, wait, sorry. Yeah, this is 2010. So this is 6 years before
even becoming a dad.
Yeah.
What I often hear in a lot of dad stories is finding value on the other side of being a service, like converting all the crap. And you went through a lot of crap in the military, just even in war, even seeing a lot of shit. And there's a lot of stories in your life that are pretty heavy fucking things to carry in your life. What were some of the things you did after that trying to take your own life to find value in your life? What was that process like?
2010 was kind of just, man, it was a hodgepodge. 2010, I just kind of did whatever the hell I wanted. I got home from Iraq and I went to Hawaii. And then 2 weeks after that, I went to Vegas with my cousins. And then I ended up going to Alabama twice for reclass. I reclassed from infantry to ammunition specialist. Because I was like, well, I did this for 4.5 years. I got a year and a half left. I don't need to prove anybody anything anymore. I got my blue cord. I'm an infantry guy. I got a deployment as an infantry guy. I'm done rucking. I fucking hated ruck at that point in my life. And then I went to Colorado to backpack the Rockies for a week with Outward Bound. Outward Bound has this incredible veterans program they've had for years, and it's free. They pay for airfare. They pay for everything. And a veterans trip with Outward Bound, backpacking the Rockies for a week. And it was with all dudes, all combat arms guys, some special operations guys, Little Bird pilot. Still remember his name, Mike, good guy. We climbed the Continental Divide. We climbed Mount Huron, which is a 14er, which is a big deal in mountaineering, hiking. If you summit a 14,000-foot mountain, that's a big deal. That's a huge deal. There isn't very many 14ers in the country. And that was really holistic. And I really, really enjoyed that physical exertion to find myself hang out with other dudes and just be guys. You know what I mean? I was literally living with guys under a tarp for a week in the Rockies, and that was the coolest thing in the world, man. And then I started college, and I just went down that college route. I did college nonstop for 6.5 years. I was total, right now I have 8.5 years of college, 3 college degrees. And college was kind of that's where I kind of just figured who I was and went down that path. I think I'm answering your question. Am I answering your question?
Well, I want to go back to, because I almost, not to juice up any ego or not, but I almost felt like the way you described the mountaineering and going for the 14er, minus the burning bush, it was almost like you went up to that mountain, found something, and came down with this. I'm interested to hear what perspective did you re-enter the world with when you came down from that mountain? Because it sounds like, and for me, like when I see mountains, like the sheer speck in the grandiose size of the world of like seeing these mountains and realizing how small we are, but then also realizing like the idea of patience and persistence and beauty within that persistence and patience is something I always take out of this. I'm interested to see what were some of those perspectives that you took down from that mountain.
Don't quit. And man, hard work pays off, man. Let me tell you, work ethic. I think work ethic is something that I've really kind of honed in on. I love working really hard, and I love giving back, and I love what I do for everybody else, but man, it's like, it sucked so bad. Like, you got to remember, we live in Wisconsin, and we don't have very high elevation in Wisconsin.
Richland Center is our like where we go if we want mountains.
Yeah. And I think the highest elevation in Wisconsin is like maybe 1,000 feet or something, not really much. But then you go out to Colorado, you're at 510. You go to Leadville, Colorado, that's 10,200 feet above sea level. That's the highest city in elevation in the country. And then you climb another 4,000 feet plus, so altitude acclimation was rough. But I love that feeling. Going up and down that mountain is like I was achieving something. And part of the climb, you had to find a rock. You got to find a rock. And then at the top of the mountain we all put a rock on top. We stacked rocks with each other. And there's a name for the rock stack. I forgot the name of the rock stack, but there's a name for it. And everybody shared a story about why they grabbed the rock. And my rock was for my two buddies that I lost, Aaron Amont and Tom Wortham. Tom Wortham was my lieutenant in my first infantry unit that was murdered in Chicago that same year we got home from Iraq. So I carried the weight of two friends up that mountain with me, and we shared it. You know, we had a couple other people share some things, like some medics that couldn't save lives in Iraq or Afghanistan. So the perspective I took off that mountain was, you know, just work hard, keep going forward, and enjoy the small things. And the small things was that view. It took 6 hours to summit that. So the ascent, the ascent, and then you got our descent is going down. So the ascent was brutal. My thighs were burning, quads were burning, my lungs were burning, but I just slow as smooth as fast type mentality, and it was awesome, man. So I don't know. I hope that answers your question. It was like 12 years ago, so it's just...
It does. And another question before I go to a different place that I wanted to go to.
Sure.
Why do you think that's so fucking hard for veterans to find a process or even admit to themselves there is a process? Like, what is that bullshit that, like, why is it so fucking hard
to find a process of
healing and transitioning and acceptance? So
you've
talked to a lot of veterans and heard a lot of fucking war stories on this podcast.
Yeah. Not only on the podcast, just in my work in the last 15 years around the state. I think what it is, and this is my personal opinion coming from working with veterans for the last 15 years throughout the state and some of the country, face-to-face, majority face-to-face. I think the process that a lot of transitioning military take into transitioning and finding and healing is that they don't really have a process. They just kind of just go hard in the paint. They get out of the mill and they're like, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm not going to care about myself and I'm just going to go straight head dive right into this. And 90, maybe even more percent higher fail because they don't take time for themselves. They don't look at it holistically. They don't have a backup plan. They don't have a tertiary plan to that one. There's no contingency. They just be like, I'm going to get out of the mill. I'm going to get this job. That's it. I'm going to be happy. Sorry, 90% of them aren't happy. So that's the thing is that they don't really create a process. And for me, I created my own process and I think it worked pretty freaking well for me. I got out of the mill. I was in college. I still struggle with a lot of my PTSD every day, and my depression, everything like that. But college really was my process because I got to challenge myself and I was learning something new. And that's why I think veterans have a hard time, or people, is because they refuse to learn something new. They refuse to be uncomfortable. And think about it, like when you're in Marine Corps boot camp or you're wherever, you weren't growing unless you were uncomfortable, right? So that's where I'm like, man, just make yourself uncomfortable just for an hour. Like tonight, you're going to do something new. You've never done anything with glass before. You never, poked a glass and made something cool. That's what we're going to do tonight. And I think that opens up a different frame of mind for people. So for anybody listening, whether you're a veteran or not, if you want to change your life, you got to change your world, change your perspective, create a process. And here's the deal. Your process, you might exclude some family and friends from it because there's going to be people that don't support your process. But guess what? That's what makes it awesome. It's yours. And I lost a lot of friends. I really did. I lost some really close friends. But I'm really happy, man. Like, I'm pretty happy. So, yeah, that's my 10-cent observation of being a veteran advocate and working with thousands of veterans in 15 years. A lot of them just didn't really have a plan. And I hope people can create a plan. So
it was maybe 6 or 7 months ago, I was talking to a guy and it hit me like with a bag of rocks. Like, the Marine Corps' ethos, and probably the ethos for a lot of other branches, but because we're a small branch, this is almost like our core ethos. We train to the edge of our skill level. We go to the actual potential enemy or our potential allies, actually expose all our vulnerabilities with that potential ally and learn how to overcome them together. And we're consistently trying to break the Marine Corps at the edge of our function. We want to understand where we're weak. We want to understand where we can strengthen. And that ethos is exactly what we need to apply on the outside. It's right there in front of everybody. Like the way the Marine Corps works is how our life should work on the outside. We should train to the edge of our function, learn from people ahead of us, learn from people that are potentially future business partners, fail together, and do that by inviting those challenges into our life. But on the outside, it's this persona that we have to be something that we're not, and that ego shows up, and that's like the first light switch you need to fucking turn off. And I mean, the Marine Corps doesn't show up with any ego generally with the allies, because we're showing up to train with you guys. We're going to show you everything, and we're going to learn and break bread together. We don't have that mentality as a veteran, and it just really sucks hearing stories about veterans trying to just muscle their way through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is like my 30-second rant really quick, is that the thing I've realized in our community, if you look at the military as a micro community, within our community, we look at, we have status in this micro community based on deployment rank, tabs, badges, MOSs, PT scores, whatever it is, right? A lot of the veterans in transitioning military, myself included, because I did the exact same thing, we take that because that is what's important to us in the military, right? We take that and we take it into the macro. The macro is everyday life, right? Every corporations, everybody, civilian sector, essentially, right? But the macro is every kind of community. So if you look at the macro, not only does the military fall in the macro, but you have other you have LEOs, you have firefighters, first responder community, right? But the problem is in everyday society, the things that we hold close to our heart, rank, deployments, that doesn't matter in the macro. What does matter in the macro is your attitude, your education, your willingness to learn, your professional development, your education, sometimes your credit score. So we have to rewire the thinking of transitioning military and veterans into that frame of mind. I don't really care. I don't care about your MOS. I don't care about your PT score. I don't care about any of that. How's your resume? How's your professional development? You know what I mean? How's your online presence, your LinkedIn profile, etc. Right? Do you have a good credit score? Because guess what? Most law enforcement jobs check your credit score. And so these are things that people don't really pay attention to, and that's what's important, and that's what I'm trying to change. So that's my little bit of a rant on your podcast.
I would say that's not a rant. That's, if anything, that's a PSA for the bullshit that people need to start buying and the process that people need to accept into their life going forward.
Once you get your DD-214, you're no longer in the military. Let it go. Let it go. Use it, blend it into what you want to do, and it's going to pay you back way more than you ever expect. Just let it go. Like Frozen. Let it go.
Let's dive into that. And so
that was a good segue, bro.
That was a good. We're not going to go into Frozen, but I want to go.
Are we talking about Frozen?
We can talk about Frozen. Frozen is one of my favorite. I often have I have an entire series of podcasts focused to every veteran has an Elsa inside, and they have to go through that process to step in that fifth snowflake and realize that they're the thing they've been waiting for their entire life. One thing that I want to dive into is most veterans, what you just described, is we get sucked into this narrative that our legacy is defined by our service. And those questions where we get stuck into, why did it matter? Why did I live? Why did my best friend die? You have an interesting story of how you've taken people that are no longer here with you and live with those every day in your life, not as a definition of your service, but a definition of your future legacy and the character of who you are as a person, and more importantly, the character you're developing in your daughter. Tell us about why you have certain tattoos on your arms and how you characterize that into your everyday life and define legacy, not by service, by who you are and what your family is going to be creating.
A lot of questions. That's fine.
You can pick any one of those.
Yeah, I'm not used to questions, man. This is weird. I got to remember I'm not the host. So as far as my friends, so I lost 4 friends in 4 years, back to back to back to back. It started with Seamus Byrne. He's from New York. He was an Iraq war vet, Purple Heart recipient, Bronze Star with Valor, I'm pretty sure, CIB. So I think he went to Iraq once or twice, once for sure. He was killed on his birthday in front of his wife, who was hit by a car crossing the street. And then Amant died, Aaron Amant. He was from Custer, Washington. He was my bunkmate at infantry school. So I knew him. Like, I knew how he smelled. You know what I mean? And then Thomas Wortham, second lieutenant. Thomas Wortham, Chicago police officer. I had two Iraq war vet, was murdered in Chicago. These thugs were trying to steal his bike. And then Joshua Kaur was killed back home because one of his friends was playing with a gun while intoxicated and shot him point blank. And I saw him a week prior at annual training, and I didn't get a picture with him. And that's why I take so many pictures with my friends, because I regret not taking a picture with him at the range. We sat and talked, we caught up. So all my friends, I blended into my life. And regardless if you're in the military or not, the frame of mind that I'm in is that whether you lose a friend or a family member, we hold a moral and ethical responsibility to carry on who they were as people and what they did. Regardless if they were in the military, maybe they did something cool. Maybe they helped build a playground or whatever the hell it is. So I took that. I took who they were, their personality, their traits, their mannerisms. Seamus was this awesome New Yorker that just was just so wild to be around, just full with life. And I love New Yorkers' personality. They're just some of the most interesting people.
They definitely make you feel like you haven't lived when you lived in Wisconsin.
I'll tell you what, man.
Those as well.
Man, he was just a proud New Yorker, and then just a very awesome, personable person, great leader. He could pontificate like you would never imagine. Just awesome. And then Aaron was just a people person. He had random pictures of people he took. And he didn't even do you know these people? No, I just took pictures. I'm like, oh, that's weird, but it's fine, and I could go on and on about everybody, but I took who they were and I blended it into myself, because I'm going to live for them through my work. That's what it is, through my work, through the podcast, through my advocacy. And I talked to my daughter about it. My daughter knows, I think she kind of understands. She asked me about my tattoos, and she points to all of it. What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? And then I was like, this is my friend Aaron. And I have a picture of Aaron in my house, and she you gotta remember, she's 5. So the memory thing is still kind of, whatever. That's my friend Aaron. We were friends, and he died, and I have a picture of him. So I have a picture of all of them, actually. It's just my way of healing. I don't sit there and marinate in it. You can marinate in your hate for everything and not understand it, or you can make something of it. And that's what I did. So I don't know. I don't know if that was a cheesy ass answer.
No, that was exactly, I teed you up and you crushed it down 300 yards down.
Maybe I should be a podcast host.
One thing that I want to just focus on so that every listener focuses on what Ryan just shared is it's about living for them that didn't come home. And this mission of this podcast is to bring every dad home. And there's a segment below that for the ones that didn't come home. Every day that we aren't living, every day we aren't growing, and every day we aren't living at that edge of growth of what we suck at, we're not living in the capacity of those that didn't get to live their life. And I always remind dads that there's a dad out there with kids that never get to feel their father's love again. And you do. So you need to wake up, figure out your thing, create a plan, and get through it. And there was a blog post that I wrote probably like 3 years ago now, that when is a veteran forgotten? He's only forgotten when people no longer remember his name. And if you create a legacy worth remembering of you, your family, the ones that didn't come home by sharing stories like that, your name will be something that's reverberated through time. And your impact won't be measured in decades, but centuries. And there's a good chance your daughter is going to use those stories in her life later. And you never know, but that moment when you realize that she did something because of the stories you told, you're going to be like, you're probably going to bawl like a 2-year-old because you're going to realize that story just changed my daughter's life. And now this man that is no longer here is still living. And I think that there is the crux of what we fuck up as a veteran. We don't ever dive into that idea and start living with that context and importance and priority on it.
Yeah. I mean, it's just something that kind of just hit me one day. And that's why I go to the gym and the things I do physically. I really try to focus on my health, and I just crush in the gym, and I do things that are so hard, and I'm just like, I never worked this hard. I never worked out this hard in the military. And but the reason why I do it is because I can still feel pain. I can still feel anguish and sweat and disappointment, but my friends can't. And the cool thing about my gym is that sometimes I'll bring my picture of Aaron in on his birthday and his the day that he passed away, November 5th. No, sorry. No, wait, my bad. He was born 12 April, died. Yep, I was right. November 5th. So on his birthday or the day that he died, I'll bring his picture in, and after the workout, I'll bust out push-ups for him on both days, especially his birthday. So however old he is, we're born the same year. So this year he technically turns 35 before me. So this year I'll do 35 push-ups on his 35th birthday, and I tell people, my people I work out with, they'll do 35 push-ups, and we just did like a 30 minute to an hour HIIT class, and we're already just smoked. They'll be like, all right, let's do 35 push-ups for Aaron, and they'll do this. We'll do it together. So I'm creating that legacy with other people too, and the importance, so.
And for people that didn't serve, it does take away a little bit of their burden, and not just in the casual, like the thank you for your service, which doesn't mean anything to us. It actually does something in their world as well. It allows them to walk with someone that they never met and to feel like they're honoring it in a way that most civilians never get an opportunity for. So it's also a gift to them to experience and actually thanking someone for a service that's no longer here, but in a way that's going to leave them an imprint on their soul versus just the general thank you for your service.
They've actually thanked me. They're actually like, hey, thanks for including.
I can't even imagine. They probably never even have experienced anything like
Nope,
that.
most of them haven't. And the cool thing about Aaron and I is that I share a really cool story about Aaron and his story, and I'm very proud of it, and I'm probably overly proud of it, and I probably talk about it too much, but on the 10th anniversary of him dying, I brought his picture to an event in Green Bay, and I got to share his story with Aaron Rodgers and a bunch of Packers, and I got a picture of me and Aaron Rodgers holding a picture of my buddy Aaron, and I call it the day that Aaron met Aaron, and I told the whole story to Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones and Bakhtiari and Balaga and Lowry, Vitali, everybody was there. Aaron Jones. So I sent that picture of me holding the picture, I sent the picture of me and Aaron Rodgers holding the picture of my buddy Aaron to Aaron's brother Matt, and they were actually at the memorial service at Aaron's headstone in Custer, Washington, and he's just like, bro, that's the greatest thing I've ever seen. I told him I had something big going on today, but I didn't know what to expect. I didn't want to overpromise anything. And when I got that picture of me and Aaron Rodgers and I told the story, I got to hang out with all of them for like 3 or 4 hours, half the day. That's like the coolest thing ever. You know what I mean? Like, does Aaron Rodgers remember it? Probably not. Maybe he does. I don't know. But I have that picture for the rest of my life, and so does the family.
And you, in that moment, step through your own journey of healing as well. Like that, I can only imagine, like the world seemed a little bit lighter that day.
Man, it was crazy, man. Like, Aaron Rodgers actually told me to go grab the picture. He's like, go get it. And I was just like, get the fuck out of here. Like, this is crazy. Like, and I was so nervous, and I was just like, why am I so nervous to tell the story? And he's like, and Aaron Rodgers actually was like, where is he from? Where was he from? Like, he was from Custer, Washington, and we were bunkmates, and, he died in Afghanistan. Today's the 10th anniversary of his death. And I didn't know I was going to meet you, and I grabbed the picture because he literally told me, he's like, I'm really glad you grabbed this picture. And he looked at it, and then we took a picture together, and I have that picture in my house. I'm going to put it in the studio, actually. I've been really slacking on putting that picture in the studio because I'm wearing a Frag Out podcast
You know
shirt.
you can duplicate pictures.
I can, yes.
You can actually make pictures so they exist in more than one spot at the same time.
I did. Man, what a time to be alive. And I shared it on LinkedIn, and it just got a lot of awesome comments about it. And someone said that is like the highest. I forgot, you got to look at the post. Someone said something about I don't know, I don't want to quote them, but someone said something to the like, what a super high honor to share the memory of your friend. It's no bullshit. I really fucking care about my friends. Like, I really honestly share the stories of my friends that aren't here. And I think some people use it as a catchphrase. I think some people use it as a scapegoat or a way to raise money. I'm not here to raise money for my friends. I'm just here to fucking share stories, who they were, how they lived, and how they impacted my life and everybody else's life. So I mean, like I said, actions speak louder than words. And what I did that day, what still baffles me to this day, that I even had that opportunity. There was only 50 veterans invited to that event. Only 50. Imagine if I like, oh, can't go, got a dentist appointment. Fuck, man. You know what I mean? So
That whole window.
sorry, I took over.
No, you're fine. And
I'm super passionate.
I can't wait for that story to be a keynote. I can only imagine to a room full of people that are postponing living and not taking action in their life. And I mean, that was a couple hours of your time, but that was 10 years in the making of growth.
Yeah.
Courage, identity, being able to go do that, start living. Like if you weren't living your life, you would not have the courage to live alongside someone that's no longer here, because you might have had imposter syndrome. Like, who the fuck am I to compare my life to anybody else's, or even think that my story is compared to his, or put those two things together? Like, that happened over 10 years. And this is the crux of why being a veteran is difficult, but then also the capacity we have. Like, I often tell that we have something that the only 7% of the population of the United States has. We have a depth, a wisdom, a perspective to the world that very few people can rival and touch. And the more you can touch into that story, the more you can share it, the more you can change the world. You tapped into your story. You learned to bring people along with it. And you'll never know all the people that needed to hear that. I remember when you shared that on LinkedIn, I was just thinking, I got goosebumps when I first saw it. I was like, that story is going to make an impact, but it starts so far before that. And veterans have an opportunity to uniquely heal a lot of the things wrong with this country, but only if we start fucking living.
Right. And a little back part about the whole Aaron thing with a picture, my buddy Aaron, not Aaron Rodgers, Aaron, I actually carry his picture like literally every day. His birthday and the day that he died, I carry it everywhere I go. No matter what I'm doing, I always carry it with me. So even in college, here's this crazy veteran carrying a fucking picture around, through college. I brought it with me and I put it right. It was in a frame and I put it up, and he'd be sitting right next to me every day. And that is not a bullshit fucking lie. I really did that. And people would always ask me, who's this? What's this about? This is my buddy Aaron. He died in Afghanistan. Today's his birthday, or today's the day he died. And they're like, no shit. And then, fun fact, we kept a secret bottle of whiskey in the Veterans Lounge at Whitewater. We hid it, and we would do shots in the day. If it was like your Alive Day, Purple Heart recipients, it was their Alive Day. We did shots in the library or whatever like that. This is, obviously this is a while ago. It's 7 years ago plus.
If you were listening at the University of Whitewater, it's probably not there.
Probably not there. Not anymore.
It's probably in a new location.
Maybe. I don't know.
It's probably moved every 4 years.
Just think of a location in the library where nobody goes. Anyway, but then I take it to restaurants. I take it to fish fries. I have a picture of me down in Lake Geneva at one of my favorite places to get fish fry. I took his picture there. Got a picture of a beer and a shot of tequila, and then his brother uses that picture every now and then. So when I say I carry this picture with me, it is absolutely no bullshit, because he meant that he means that much to me. And we were born so close together. 12 April 87, 3 May 87, pretty close. So not the worst part, but the very kind of like a super sad part about this story is that he was on leave in Afghanistan the same time I was leaving Iraq, and we were in the same airport in Atlanta, and we never saw each other. Just imagine if we would have saw each other one last time. I think we were on the same plane. I really do. I just never saw each other, because I saw a picture of a guy that he was behind. There was pictures, like they post the pictures of people coming home for the USO in Atlanta. I saw a picture of Aaron, and there's a couple people behind him, and I was like, yeah, that guy was on my plane. Fuck. So that eats me a little bit, but it is what it is.
Let's park for a second to give some advice. If people like the method of healing that you're doing, and it probably feels natural for you to do it, and it doesn't know anything to with it, that it's just something you do every day, where does someone start? Because it probably feels like a very heavy, overwhelming feeling to start. So what would advice, if someone wants to start something like that, where would you advise them to begin?
I guess my method of healing, it comes from, obviously there was a second suicide attempt in there too. I was going to shoot myself because I got dumped on Christmas Eve, and I got broken up with, fiance, homeless. There's so many layers to that. So 10 years in the making, right? Let's just go back to 2012, right? So shit, healing and going down that path, I think it is.
Even specifically, like, how do you begin to carry a person's picture around? Like, what would like
you just have to own it. You just have to own it. You know what I mean? Like, you just you carry that picture because you love that person. Even if it's not a picture, it could be a picture of your favorite book. You know what I mean? Whatever. Just it's kind of like having a picture of your daughter, your son in your wallet, or your mom in your wallet, or whatever it is, you know. But this is more public. This is more personal, right? And I'm comfortable, and I love who I am, and I love my story, and you know, I'm not doing it for attention. If people want to ask me about it, I'm going to tell you about it, right? I don't know. I think I'm getting lost in my thought here.
You don't worry. You gave me an actual thing that I don't know if you've ever connected this, but you said to carry that picture because you love them.
Yep.
And in that moment, something that hit me, the hardest process of the transition is relearning to love yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And the process that you went through with those pictures,
Sure.
you learning to love them at a deeper level than they probably were even when they were alive.
Right.
Allowed you to re-love yourself, but with their character traits. And it's almost like a self-healing process that it'd be like that invitation to love them might seem like extremely fucking hard on day one, but that's the fucking process to relearn yourself. And whether it be your marriage, your kids, you can't learn to unconditionally love the world until you can unconditionally love yourself. And I always say you got to find the good, the bad, and the ugly and be able to love all three of those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It goes back to the alpha thing. When you're an alpha and you're in those units, you're not really allowed to love each other because that's weird. It's just like, how many times did you wake up in the Marine Corps and be like, hey, man, good morning. I love you. Like, probably never said that, right? Because it's just weird. It's just not a thing that happens. But the last 10 years, especially the last couple of years, you know, especially when my daughter's born, just carving out things that I didn't like and then and rebuilding that part of me in the sense of like, you know, I'm not in the military anymore. I'm a dad. I'm a business owner. I help people, but it's okay to say you love people. It's okay, and men are historically told not to share emotion and love, and it's just we have to be this. We got to be this. Like, we got to show tough love and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, we can show tough love, but at the same time, we can just show love, you know, and just love.
I'm known as a Marine that gives the best hugs. Like, that wasn't something, it was actually in 2018. I went to a dad conference. I went into this room as the opposite. I've never been a hugger my entire life. I've never defaulted to hug. I would never hug you willingly on my own. Well, I started handshaking and it quickly got upgraded to hugging, and I was kind of prepared for it. But by the end of the 2-day conference, I somehow had the label of the guy that gave the best hugs, and I've owned it ever fucking since. But that was a gift that I didn't even know within me. But now doing it, people are often like, it's kind of funny, almost happens almost ironically to brand new people that I hug. They're like, wow, that was good. And I'm just like, well, that's kind of what my thing is known for. But that's not something like most people are openly willing to talk about, especially even being Marine. Like, I openly say I'm a Marine. That's an oxymoron in general. Talked about his emotions, talked about his feelings, openly hugs up people, tells them they love them. Like, that in and itself represents a model of healing through this bullshit that we've been told to swallow down.
I think it's also, because I'm so comfortable with it, I think it's also a way of diffusing someone's, maybe if they're hesitant to something, right? So, like, I have a really good buddy, not going to say his name, not even going to try to hint at who he is, but just, you know, he's a buddy, and he was going through a hard time. He recently tried to hurt himself, and you know, he went away for a little bit to find himself. And I told him, hey man, I love you. You know what I mean? And I say that to everybody. Like, I really do. I really do say I love everybody, unless you cut me off. That's bullshit. I don't love you then. You know, you can make jokes about it, but you know, it's I don't know. It's just one of those things. I like I said, I'm just so comfortable. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have my bad days, and I can despise people. I can hate things because that's just part of being a human, right?
Yep.
But I'm just a cautiously optimistic person. I love being positive, and I love sharing awesome things, and I love supporting people. So that's where the love comes in. And, you know, plus I'm a girl dad. So it's, you just gotta love girl things too, you know, pink and purple and unicorns and But I'm an infantry dad. So it's like, I'm going to teach you stuff. I'm going to be a girl dad, but I'm going to teach you infantry stuff. You know, like we're going to learn the colors, but I'm going to teach you the colors with chem lights. You know what I mean? Right. I'm going to teach you land nav, but we're going to go to the corn maze.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
and we haven't had a chance to talk much about being a dad, but one thing that kind of comes to my mind immediately when you talk about reminding me that you're a girl dad is the invitation and the reminder. And this is something no one fucking tells you until you actually decide to go out there and like, you know what, I just need to stop fucking winging it, being a dad and look for resources. You're the first model of love that your daughter will adopt.
yeah.
No one fucking tells you that. Your relationship to her will define what she looks for in another man. And if she doesn't have one, she will go out even faster to try to find it.
Sure.
I mean, even just hugging your daughter can reduce the chance that she has sex by the age of 12 by like 60%. Because like if she gets a physical connection to you, she won't try to go find it from someone else. Like no one tells you about that, which just makes this whole process to get through this shit even more important because the stakes have never been fucking higher.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, my daughter saved my life, straight and to the point. 2015, 2016 was just a fucking dumpster fire. And then 2017 was pretty much a dumpster fire too. Dropping out of grad school, 6 credits from graduation for my clinical social degree, or my master's degree in clinical social work. And I moved up here to the Valley, the Fox Valley, Appleton area. Didn't have any family or friends up here. Started fresh, like boom, like no bullshit, fresh. And I had to be closer to my daughter. I had to be that father that I didn't have. And I was so overweight, so unhealthy, drinking all the time. I was going out to dinner. I was eating out every goddamn day, drinking every day. Just not being healthy. And then something just fucking clicked. You know, boom. Changed my life. I had a relationship with a chick up here. She dumped me. Seems to be a pattern here, Ben. I swear I'm a really good guy. And but then 2018, I went on a no dating, take care of Ryan self for 17 months and 6 days. No dating, no women, no sex, nothing. Just took care of myself. 17 months, 6 days. Let me tell you something. That was the best cleanse I've ever had. Just cleansed out all that bullshit. Just cleansed out all of the negativity and focused in on myself and my daughter. And I look back at it and it's just like, this is what I have to show for it. I can do things. I was so broke for my daughter. I had other people buy me gifts to give my daughter for Christmas. That's how broke I was. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. I don't have like Joe Rogan money, but you know, I can buy my daughter gifts now, you know? So that's just kind of, my daughter's great, man. Like I wouldn't trade in any of the things I did in the military. Let me rephrase it. I would trade in everything I did in the military for my daughter. There's nothing cooler than being a dad, honestly. It comes with a lot of
It's
anxiety.
the best thing, but at the same time, it's the best, but it's also the best thing that's going to show you how to grow.
Man, it's a lot of anxiety. It's a lot of questioning things.
It's like having your heart run around, beat outside your body, and it runs into walls, and it can trip over and have owies.
She's my baby girl, man, and that's just that's.
Did you ever meet your dad?
Nope, never.
So in some long-winded 20-year story, almost, you joined the military to find your dad, but you really learned to find the dad in yourself.
Yeah.
Like you didn't need another dad; you needed to find the father figure that you could be.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And what that was looking like to stand up.
Yep. Man, it's quite the path, huh? It's quite the path, and it's quite the journey. And I think some people, some people call me successful. So whatever. I have a lot of veteran friends that call me successful, and I'm doing great things, and I'm doing successful things. And I think subjective. I think success is subjective. I really do. Do I think I'm successful? No, I'm just having fun at this point in my life, right? But to get to this point, overnight success, if that's what people want to call it, took 10 years plus, right?
Yeah, I've had many of those moments. Like, yeah, this was a 1-day, 3-year overnight success.
Right. So it's just like, you got to remember everything I have now, I started from my kitchen table. podcast started at my kitchen table with my mom. My business was kind of everything I've actually created came from being at the gym, throwing a medicine ball around, being on the stair climber, doing crazy things physically. My brain just shuts off, and I just think of these crazy ideas. The bend shot thing we're doing tonight, that was from being at the gym, throwing a medicine ball.
That's the crazy part. You don't actually realize like some of your best ideas will come from when you shut off the normal things where it comes from. I've had the best ideas on bike rides with my kids.
Yep. Yeah. And then the archery thing, I mean, that was just something I blended into, and we've grown it from, I go hunting. So I'm sitting in a stand for hours on end, just doing absolutely nothing. Right. And you're just thinking. So thinking of ways to be a better dad, thinking of ways of being a better entrepreneur, thinking of ways of being a better community member and veteran advocate, and just trying to push different things and ideas and concepts. So,
we slightly hinted at Elsa, but if I were to tie a bow around it, what Elsa learned in Frozen franchise is when she stepped on the fifth element, she was the thing she was looking for. And right after that, all those Frozen statues of all her life show up to realize that life's been happening for her, not to her. 2018 was your fifth element moment where you stepped onto it. You realized I wasn't looking for something externally through sex, women, or anything else, drugs, alcohol. It was already inside me. And then realizing like this entire journey of my life was preparing for me to step into this potential that you now get to live and have fun with and just show up as fucking who you are.
I just showed up to the gym, man. I was working out so much for those 17 months, and I still work out. I mean, COVID, I packed on a couple pounds during COVID. I think everybody did.
Well, you barbecue too much. I can let you know.
Correction, Ben. I don't barbecue enough. Correction.
I feel like your Traeger never really ever gets a chance to cool down.
Nope, no, never. But I just went hard in the paint for a long time, and I still have. Believe it or not, I might barbecue a lot, but I do eat pretty healthy, and I take care of my body, and I drink a lot of water. But I learned real quick and fast that what you put into your body, whether that's food, alcohol, liquid, or the people around you, the information people are telling you, the people that you think you associate with, the things that you're consuming from them, also affects you too. So I changed the people around me, and the people around me they're just incredible humans, giants of men and women, and it's a good blend of women and men, and it's not an echo chamber. If I'm being a turd, someone's going to tell me I'm being a turd. If I'm doing a good job, someone's going to tell me I'm doing a good job. I got one friend that he doesn't give me very many compliments because I get pretty awkward around compliments. I'm very awkward with compliments. I absolutely don't like compliments. He did something really big for me the other day. Really big. He got me invited somewhere that I'm really excited to go. And what he said was like, all right, now this is the point where you say thank you. Thank you. And he's like, all right, I'm hanging up now because you're going to get awkward. and he hung up the phone. Okay, man. So, that's just me, man. I'm just I just do what I think is right, and I think there's too many people out there that try to push superfluous bullshit onto people. And I'm just like, okay, well, I'm going to let my actions speak for myself and let people that know me and I hope you enjoy tonight so you can go off and be like, Ryan is actually doing something cool. You know what I mean? This isn't bullshit. What I've created here isn't bullshit. The relationships that I've created isn't BS. You see what I'm trying to say? And there's so much stuff that people don't see on the back end of social media posts or pictures or anything like that, right? You're going to hang out with me and Blair today. You're going to see all the back work. You're going to see the who I am as a person. You're going to hang out with me for the rest of the day, right? Proverbially, right? So that's kind of where I'm at, man.
Well, as we wrap up, I have one final question.
And this is where we wrap up. We'll just let Ryan talk.
We're going to let that mic drop. That's the best kind of interviews where you wind people up and they just start going. It makes it a lot easier.
You want me to get wound up? I'll get wound up. I got things to be wound up about, bro. I got things to be wound up about.
Is the question I want to leave with is for a dad out there standing in front of his family who maybe doesn't know the right words to step in through it and step and be a dad that he knows he wants to be, but it feels overwhelming. What's some of your best dad advice for someone out there resisting the title?
Oof. Dude, I'm like the worst person to give dad advice.
You're a great dad.
My daughter calls me turd. That's fun. I call her turd. That's fine. The best dad advice, huh? For a person in front of their family. Man, I'm all about just owning it. Just be, man. Someone said something to me one time when I was becoming a dad, because I had so many friends that were dads before me, and I lived vicariously through them, and I was the single guy. I was always like, I was with like random chicks, and they're just like, Farva, I'm going to live for you because you're always with these chicks, so you just got to tell me what's going on. I'm in this married life, and now I'm a dad, and someone told me it's like being a parent, it's like you get, you get a blank canvas, and you get to paint it however you want. And I kind of just live with that. I kind of just like, oh, I really like that. And the best advice I have for any dad out there, man, just embrace it. Just embrace it. Embrace fatherhood. Embrace being a dad to an amazing, young, powerful son. Or embrace being that encouraging and, loving father to a girl, a young lady, because, there's so many kids out there that don't have anything close to a parent, and it's live for them. Everything you do, prioritize for them. Think about it. I mean, if you complain about not having money, man, I can tell you stories about not having money. And I sold a prize rifle to pay for my daughter's stuff. One of my favorite rifles. It was a very expensive rifle. I sold it. I lost $500 on the deal. I sold it for $4,000 just so I could pay for formula, diapers, fixing my truck so I could go pick her up, shocks, tires. So I had a safe vehicle, car seats. You got to own it. I would never sell a rifle ever again. That's not happening. But I'll sell my soul before I did that. But prioritize. And just be okay with outcomes. You can't control everything. And the biggest thing I had a problem with was being a helicopter dad. I felt like I had to be around all the time. And it was just so hard. And now I'm just like, all right, bug off. It's like we go to the trampoline park. We go and just do new things, and especially if you don't know anything, maybe find something that you think you're going to like and teach it to your kid, your son or your daughter. My daughter loves drawing. She loves music. She's got this affliction for rocks. I don't know where the hell that came from. I have no idea. She loves rocks. So I got her a geode set. And these geode sets, you actually get to crack them open and she gets to see the crystals.
Yep, I got one of those.
Those are cool. Like,
they're annoying, though, because they're like, you really got to bang the crap out of them. And kids really don't have enough oomph in them to get them open either.
I barely have strength for it. But you get to be a kid again. You know what I mean? You get to watch cartoons, and like cartoons these days, especially movies, are so good. They're so much better than what we had, and they're so much fun. So you embrace that. Like the Mitchells versus the Machines is like one of my favorite cartoons. It's so funny, and it makes fun of everyday life. And kids just like, they bring you back to when you were a kid, and you get to have their imagination, and you should be excited for them being excited about having an imagination and playing, grocery store or playing, with Nerf guns or whatever it is. Man, it's awesome. Especially when I play Nerf guns, my daughter doesn't know who I was in my previous life, so I destroy her because I will not accept being shot with a Nerf gun.
And when she brings friends over, she's going to have friends that be like, why does your dad take this so seriously?
Why does your dad have night vision goggles? Like Bravo 6 going dark. You know what I mean? But that's it, man. I mean, I love being a dad, and I hope there's a lot of people out there that love being a dad. I had mentors. I had a lot of male mentors in my life. But you get to make it. This is your deal. You know what I mean? So if you're going to be a shitty dad, you're going to have a shitty kid. I'm sorry. If you're going to be an awesome parent, you're probably going to have some pretty cool kids or child. And you get what you put into it. So you can either visit your kid at college or you can visit your kid in the prison. That's your choice. I think my kid's going to go off and go to college.
Or they can try to college and rubber band back to your basement because you didn't teach them enough about life and how to figure out how to fit into it.
I hate to be the guy that just gives hard truths, but that's just the reality of the situation. And I'm not raising a kid that's going to eat Tide Pods. That's for sure.
Well, that's like the one benefit of veterans is we can hear hard truths. We generally don't. The less sugar on it, the better we hear it. And the more sugar on it, the more we're like, that's not for me. So
100%, man.
That's probably the best part of like these types of podcasts and just telling it the way it is, because then we can hear it the way it is, and that's usually always the way we need it.
Yeah. I think the other thing too is, I have, shared placement, shared custody with her mom. And I think that's something that's not really talked about very often, is that relationship. And the relationship I had with her mom starting off was really bad. And that we're in a place now where it's not as contentious. It's not as hateful. I think it is a good word too. I don't hate her mom. I don't hate her stepdad. You get to a point where you appreciate them, and you work with them, and you communicate. And I mean, I've always bought my ex a birthday card, a Mother's Day card. We've done gift exchange for Christmas. We're in a really good spot. And same thing with her stepdad. Her stepdad's an awesome guy, very smart, very hardworking. And she calls him daddy too, and that's okay. It stung at first, absolutely stung. I'd be lying if I said it didn't. But those are things you can't change. And I think a lot of parents take it personally, and they're very selfish in certain situations for themselves. And I hate to say it, it's not about you. It's about them. And I had a very hard time accepting that. So,
and I hear a lot of stories with those split families, and we often think like initially like, who are they to kind of give advice? But if you have two good men leading your daughter, that's like bonus. Like there's two different perspectives that can season her life to the point where it's just no different than having a coach or a mentor. Right. Like she has two of them. Right. They're going to help identify the blind spots in a way that we can't even always get right. And that's the hardest part about being a dad. You can't see everything they need to see, and having that extra, if you have them as like a teammate, like that's actually going to benefit your daughter done right. Right. And you're also teaching your daughter that the love with her mom and you isn't bad. Like she's never going to feel that I'm bad because I don't have a mom and dad that live with each other. Like they still model that healthy relationships to make me feel that I'm not something that was not supposed to be here.
We've had many dinners together. We've had lunches together. And her mom is very smart, very intelligent. My girlfriend is around my daughter all the time. Very smart, very intelligent, very outgoing, loves to bake. So there's a lot of gaps being filled, and Ava's being brought up in proverbially two households, but they're very powerful, very supporting households. And I think it's going to help her in the future. So.
Well, I thank you for coming on the podcast today and opening up your studios here in Appleton so we could record the first on-person interview for a military veteran dad. Is there any place outside of every podcast player where people can find Frag Out that you'd want to tell people to find out more about the work you do?
Yeah. I don't remember all the platforms here, so I'm looking at one of my business cards. So I do have some videos on YouTube, but the podcast is available on iHeartRadio, CastBox, Amazon, Spotify, and Apple, and whatever third-party podcast app there is. I don't get those analytics because there's a ton. Facebook, Frag Out Podcast, Instagram, Frag Out _ podcast. My company, Wisconsin Veteran LLC, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. There's a Frag Out Podcast LinkedIn. So that's about it. FragOutPodcast.com. It brings you directly to the media player so you can listen to podcasts. So Ben, thanks for so much, man. This is awesome, and I know it was awesome for you doing this first in-person podcast. It's probably a little different, but I think you crushed it. So, cool.
And I imagine your listeners will enjoy hearing the inner sides of Ryan that you often season through your interviews, but often just like having the focal point to kind of share your timeline in a fashion where the spotlight's only on me also gives you more people insight into who you are. So I really appreciate that as well.
100%, buddy. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. I know if you're anything like me, Ryan's story hit you right in the gut. It probably pulled some of those heartstrings, especially if you've been to war, especially if you lost some of your friends. His story, sitting across the table, recording this interview, knowing where those tattoos came from, knowing how he shows up in his life, and knowing the authenticity that he brings to everyday connection with every veteran he meets, every person he comes into his life, and just his brash ability to push through whatever life throws at him. Man, I hope that interview gave you the courage to step into some big stuff this week and maybe for the first time learn to ask for help, learn to reach out, seek the resources that you need in your life to move it forward. My big takeaway from this interview with Ryan is the true understanding of how legacy works in the context of losing a friend. I've talked about it, but I didn't lose any friends. So I'm only speaking from the context of what I've heard over 153 episodes. What Ryan gave us was a path to healing by living the character traits of others that are no longer here, the ones that impacted you in your life, bringing those character traits, how those people lived into your life, sharing their stories, as he shared, bringing that picture with him wherever he goes on those days he wants to memorialize those memories. To me, that is how legacy works. If you truly want to be remembered in this world, you need to have people know you. You need to impact people's lives on a deeper level than most of us do on a daily basis. And if you are anything like Ryan, those stories hit you in a way that, man, there's probably someone in your life that you could embody some of their character traits. If their life ended early, for whatever reason, even if it was someone like your dad that maybe is no longer here, remembering you can bring in the good into your life and remembering how to live those lives for the lives that they maybe don't get to finish, especially if they were a dad. Being a person that can embody the character traits of someone that is no longer here, a father that no longer gets to feel his kids' love, and his kids no longer get to feel their father's love, to me, that is something that we all have an obligation, whether you lost someone or not. There are people in my life that I continue to incorporate their character traits into mine because I want that impact to be remembered. I want their stories to be remembered. And I want to be able to know that I'm living for people that are no longer here sometimes. And that I'm not just who I am. I'm always learning, growing, and experiencing life at a deeper level. I would love to have you reach out to me and let me know, how did Ryan's episode land on you? What are you taking away from this episode? Reach out to me, ben@militaryveterandad.com. That is all I have for you guys this week. This is also a reminder, if you're missing Fatherhood Friday, go over and check out the Business of Fatherhood. We are now up to 230 episodes of daily 5-minute advice. So lots to go back there and binge, lots of different ideas. If you want to dive in, a lot of the content for that podcast comes from these interviews. So if you want to know what I'm learning, what I'm applying, or what I'm struggling with, because I lay it all out in all the fashion on that podcast, head over to benkaloy.com/listen, and all the links will be there for you to subscribe on your podcast player. And one more, I have recently launched a Design Your Legacy call. If you were interested in understanding how your legacy could play out differently, what significance you could leave behind within your legacy, head on over to benkaloy.com as well. In the top right corner, there is a Design Your Legacy button there. That button will get you into my calendar, and I would love to look forward to being able to talk to you about how you can create intention behind your legacy and get it to where it needs to go and where you want it to go, because most of us don't create intentional legacy. We just let legacy unfold in a catastrophic event of how life happens, but often that is not anything worth remembering. Intention is how you do that. Again, Design Your Legacy, benkaloy.com, top right corner. Look forward to talking to you. And that is all I have for you this week, and I'll be back again with you guys on Monday.